The past is caught up. Can a bad past coexist with a bright future? Oh, my wife has been adamant about getting a divorce for around 5 times in the last 4 years. She started the divorce 3 years ago while also giving into side connections on the internet. We reconciled, but not before getting apart once more for a little while. However, there hasn't been much of an improvement. Consequently, even though she mentioned that she planned to end things today, I was not taken aback. Honestly, I'm just aggravated. Why? Since I'm rather tired of this roller coaster. Admittedly codependent, with an alcoholic family, a divorced family history, a terrible past, and a tendency to shun closeness. Here's me. We were like two people caught in a tractor beam when we first met, and we just made dysfunction hilarious. However, we also held similar values, convictions, and even though 15 years have passed, I can't fathom giving up after spending so much time. Really though, I feel exhausted, alone, and used up. During our marriage, I have been the one providing stability, support, and solutions. Even though I acknowledge that I had a part in the unhealthful balance in our relationship, I firmly believed in my beliefs and moral principles to stand up for our union at any costs. While my wife, who is incredibly smart and talented, is working on her second master's degree, she has been lost and out of control, miserable, and has burned all of her bridges with friends and family. I, on the other hand, fully kept to my pledge on our wedding day. When she eventually reaches her lowest point and asks for assistance, she leaves because it becomes too personal and intense. She now experiences daily reminders from her demons about her past, wasted time, weight, guilt, and shame, all of which she has experienced despite my best efforts to support her spouse in overcoming them. Spend less, travel, and eventually start a family. She doesn't find it to be clear-cut enough, though. She wishes to just start over and remove everything. She claims to be acting in our best interests. She feels we are too sickly for each other to ever change, and she is weary of being sick. She had started so many significant improvements for us that we have never been able to gain traction, so I can't blame her for being frustrated. We have been eagerly awaiting the payment of a significant debt that will significantly relieve our budget and help us go where we need to go. This huge bill is about to be paid off. But as usual, she had to ruin everything once more before making a significant breakthrough. She added that the last time this occurred, she had to turn from making dire predictions about her life, that she was prone to have a pessimistic and gloomy view on her future. I predict that things will soon turn around for the better. However, she simply holds disdain for what she perceives to be nonsense. You don't have my trust. This is beyond me. If I wasn't so utterly worn out from this, I would be hopeless. I was at least relieved that she chose to be open and honest about how she felt. Because she has been silent for the past month and doesn't want to bond, it makes the environment tense. She is crying at least now, depressed that she decided to leave me, the person she still loves but is no longer able to support. I really want her to get some healing and support, so at least she is preparing a divorce group and will be attending group again soon. I am being friend-zoned by my own wife, which is really annoying. And it seems like these past 15 years have been empty and pointless after all this struggling against the obstacles. That we are unable to express our happiness at having persevered and overcome this together. Sad. Really disappointed. We will celebrate our 16th wedding anniversary next week, which is around 1 month from now. However, nobody will celebrate this one. We were youthful and enthusiastic about the future 16 years ago. It was nighttime, freezing and windy as hell, and I proposed right off the Golden Gate Bridge. We spent a week in South California after our lovely, small ceremony in the Napa Valley. Now, fast forward, it's just agonizing. To make sure everything is filled out accurately, we are speaking with a court facilitator first thing in the morning. Fortunately, everything is moving ahead nicely, and the attorneys won't need to be called in. This breakdown, in my opinion, will occur swiftly. I hardly feel ready, like stepping onto a really terrifying roller coaster. It's too late now. I'm still not ready for this to end. However, I have been the only one trying to make this work, but she was unable to arrive, and decided to cheat and lie, ruin everything. I am excited to make a fresh start. However, there are moments when I just feel uneasy. I get nauseated from food. The idea of a potential future relationship also does. When this is over, which I believe will happen soon, I want to travel, see old friends again, make plenty of new friends, and just give God the stress of any future relationships. Even though I appear to be 10 years younger, I still feel 38 years old, so I know I have a long way to go. It's just so very, very different from my imagination. 2 years ago, it all kind of started avalanching. In reality, it was a dream that signaled to me that something was wrong. I dreamed that I was at a lavishly decorated home for the holidays, with twinkling lights, deep reds and hunter greens, and the sound of reveling people in the distance. But I was viewing everything through the lens of my camera, picking out the minute details and commenting on how well I had done. I hear my wife declare, "I'm leaving you," from behind me. I hear this, but my eyes are still focused on other things. After 2 weeks, I feel tense. Our relationship isn't great, but it's also not awful. It had only been a month or so since we moved into our new apartment. Wife got her first post-grad job in a new city where she was given the legal authority to force people into observation and treatment for mental health issues. She received 80 applications. My spouse is incredibly talented, but she possesses an intuitive level of ability that made her an excellent clinician. Toss in the gut feeling to know what inquiries to make. The work is what matters most. You are not being held by anyone. She is informed by a coworker on her first day that nobody in the office is her friend. Furthermore, don't think that anyone, not even the agency, will support you, because nobody likes to take responsibility if you make a mistake or a patient does something wrong. No matter what, do not cry when called to work. This will be your last visit here. Let's just say that getting used to our new house has not been simple. The wife has never slept well, is tense, and has been dependent on a game as her primary source of distraction for a while until giving it up for the marriage, which was perhaps 2 months ago. The game has nothing to do with me, yet I detest it because of the various emotions I witness on her face when she plays. She almost lost her mind when she decided to resign. It completely stunned me. In any case, we are heading somewhere on the road. I also mentioned the dream that has been circling around in my mind. My anxiety actually skyrockets because of that. Quietly, she listens. I inquire as to whether she intends to depart. She firmly promises that she would never treat me in such way. She then quickly requests to play World of Warcraft as we approach our house. I can't believe it. How in the hell would you play something that was obviously touching on your addiction issues and caused me so much pain? She's bored, that's all she can say in response. I'm not sure what her thing is, and I decline. She is downloading the game again onto her PC the very next day. She takes great offense at that. I bring up the same point again, attempting to reason with her or whatever. However, no luck. I then tell her to go ahead and play the game if she so chooses. However, we must then begin to strengthen our bonds. What? I'm divorcing you. I have no power, she insists. I haven't found a high-paying work yet, but she does. She eventually agrees to conduct a trial separation after some discussion. Desires room and permits me to spend the night because I have plans to move in with my parents, who live 2 hours away. The following day, wake up with a new dream. I'm in a tiny space that is packed with boxes. I stand up and grab my yellow backpack, which I actually do own. As I stand by the door, I notice a gas station to my left. There are 2 big mounds that appear to be buried or obstructing the way to the pumps. Glancing to my right, I see a blonde, uniformed woman facing away from me. The wife is a brunette. I experience complete serenity and a sense of God's presence. She was quite good at hiding her usage of porn and probably even her emotional and physical affairs. Really can't obtain the whole truth about that from her for the duration of our marriage. The emotional matters were intensely physical, seeking males to control and role-play her. But she was unable to act out, thus she was unable to have a physical relationship with me. She detested emotional closeness as well. Incest, maltreatment in childhood past, and not dealing with it. Consequently, had a very promiscuous youth, experienced a divine encounter, and desired to transform. I thought everything would change if you married me, but wasn't quite as prepared as she believed. Regarding the sabotage, she would criticize and accuse me of being the reason they stopped sleeping together when it came to bonding. Several meetings would terminate in conflict or awkward silence. She destroyed all relationships with friends, family, and employers for years. Her food binges and extravagant spending led to weight gain and debt, and we were never able to enjoy life because of our tight budget. She loved having second chances because she felt she could make all the changes she wanted and solve her problem from the beginning. I recently returned from an appointment with the facilitator, and I've been added to the list. Under the divorce laws of my state, a declaration that the marriage is irretrievably broken suffices as grounds for divorce. We are not contesting anything and do not have children. No arbitration or court cases. It's useless to keep her hostage, as much as I detest it. Wife wishes to submit today. She's leaving right now to file, and I sign the documents. After 16 years, almost too simple. She appears more stunned than I do at the moment, but she is determined to do this. I waved my hand one last time, saying I think we can make this work. Perhaps there is still time for us to build a wonderful future together. This lovely marital recommitment certificate that I discovered last month while looking around was from a family life couples event. It offered me hope that there might be a possibility. I advise her to go ahead and we can try again later. Not a reply. That's just the way things are. I suppose I'm grateful that we aren't putting each other at odds. I have no urge to exact retribution or make things difficult. I just want to stop fighting for the few decades I have left and let her live the new life she chose. Although I've been willing to cooperate, I kindly tell my wife that I won't be joining her with the file. I still don't want it. Now that we've been doing this push-pull thing for the past 3 years, it's just simpler for me to accept it. The separation I described in my previous story began and lasted for roughly 6 months. I relocated for 4 months and then took a month off. After 2 years of togetherness, we eventually came to the current situation. I was a mess when it first started. I tried every bad thing in the book to make her remain. I loved reading Love Must Be Tough the most. I suppose the 180 they talk about a lot here is a version of it. However, the book delves into some of the WS's logic and explains how to set limits and put an end to foolish, fear-based behavior. Although I opened her eyes and was crucial to our reconciliation, it didn't deal with her addiction. She met him online, and I know she has her heart set on him. Although she is keeping her distance in order to heal, I am aware that she has been looking at moving close to where he is. She is going to pay a big girl price for her big girl decision. I'm letting her go, and although I seem at ease right now, that's only because I've been in a state of acceptance for a while. The 90-day period has begun. The court date is July 30th, and it involves a Mo. That's when it will be finished. Because of her extreme denial, my STBXW is unsure of what to do or even which way is up after what she just did. I'm only thinking about my next steps and how I'm going to pay off my share of the debt at SAP. Wonderful times, wonderful times. I was a total wreck for those 2 hours after the wife made me go. I had to calm down after fighting off panic attacks and experiencing a mental breakdown. My spouse had been really insistent. Told me she didn't want children because she didn't love me anymore, didn't respect me, couldn't trust me, and was embarrassed to be around me. Due to me, I desired the dream I experienced in which I felt completely at rest. But that was simply not taking place. I was vacillating between tears and fury. I was also at a loss for what to do with myself when I went to my parents. I'm aware that I needed work. I returned to my former workplace after a 5-year hiatus. I never burned my bridges since they quickly gave me their full support again. That was still not helping my marriage all that much. It seemed to go on forever for what I had assumed would be a few weeks. I'm still a nervous wreck. I go in for some prayer since I can't control it, and some talented folks pray for me. And one of them said, "You have betrayed yourself." All I knew now is that she had a little quarrel with a guy on World of Warcraft. However, she vowed that everything was over and that she would never return. Other than that, I knew nothing. In any case, I felt a lot better after leaving and made the decision to come back for a more focused prayer time. The revelation. Our wife is being a jerk and doesn't want to work on things at all, weeks into our separation. I don't call as a result. She then baits me, and as I back off, she insults me. I'm starting to lose my cool and start to question her actions. I notice a number from an area code I recognize because we used to reside there when I checked phone usage online when paying bills. I also know that she had a brief internet relationship with a guy from North Cali. When I dial the number, the man answers. It sounds like he's speaking from inside a restroom stall. They are only buddies, he claims. He acknowledges that they were improper at one point, but that was then. She also has no one to talk to because she is alone. I tell him to step aside and take care of his own family matters. And if his wife found out, would he like it? No, she is aware of it already. Bullshit. In any case, he makes an attempt to seem maternal or pastoral by claiming that he is certain that she loves me, but that something is lacking. I advise him to act honorably, particularly since he is enrolled at a ministry school. Claims to be studying the language of the New Testament. The ignorant person is unaware that I have studied Greek and ancient Hebrew under some of the top theologians. He accepts, but it's obvious that his pride is pressuring him to hold on. I then give my wife a call. She acknowledges it, but she clarifies that their relationship has gone beyond friendship. They are always on the phone and sending emails at work. She then begins to hiss since it seems as though he marginally threw her under the bus. I can tell then that she isn't prepared to give it up. I knew it was time to draw the line in the sand because I had previously done some research on codependency, and love must be hard. That there wouldn't be anything more to discuss as long as she continued to act in this way, play video games, and didn't seek treatment for what appeared to be an addiction. It stung more than the indiscretions when I understood, for the first time, that my wife had been lying to me for years. I understand that I am starting to move past the offense caused by my wife's behavior and start to let this go. Neither she nor I have any debts to one another now. I don't have to live in guilt over the things I didn't do, and I'm not going to intentionally hurt my wife. She is making her own decisions, which is really painful and rejection-like. However, I discovered today that neither she nor I am less valuable in God's sight because of it. I've been quite nervous about being alone for the past several days, fearing that I will only draw toxic connections, even though I'm not ready to move on with another relationship. I feel it calm right now. My priorities aren't the same. The entire globe is in front of me. I'm just going to keep letting go of all the hurt, trash, and resentment, and shame. Then just accept love, extend an invitation to wholeness, and face your rejection fears head on. My wife approached me 2 days ago in tears, pleading for help with her addiction and a chance to patch things up. I feel like a car that has been abruptly pushed into reverse as it is speeding forward. And even though I hoped for her attempt to reach out to me and eagerly awaited her return numerous times in the past, all I'm feeling this time is conflict and rage. I had come to terms with the harsh fact that this was coming to an end because I was so certain that it was finished. So here we are, making appointments for both her marital and individual counseling. I've been feeling skeptical about this, but I also know that she reached her lowest point and needs support, and I'm ready to help her start the healing process. Regarding the marriage, I'm ready to speak with someone to help steer us toward a happy ending or a successful reconciliation. Wearying. Naturally, he was taken aback when she called the thinking she was divorcing him and planning to take off with him. Sadly, he is an isolated single man from a low-income household with little to lose and no family or spouse to report. But it sounds like he will be mindful of our limits. Hell, though, even when I've previously challenged she's resumed her affairs. Though it's familiar territory, this time she intends to complete the counseling process. And that I could care less. I detest who I am, yet I can no longer ignore it. I've been broken by all of this, just as she has been. I do know that she will experience a mental breakdown if she relapses. She had overreached herself. Even she admitted that she was terrified out and had suddenly lost the ability to compartmentalize her acting out, observing her decline and the fact that she was changing into a new person, and that by doing so, she was condemning herself to a life of vice and evil. She was aware that she wouldn't make it through. It seemed to her like her spirit was drawing its final breath. She claims that she can sense something broken inside of her right now. She hasn't been able to pinpoint what's wrong with her since the last season of Relapse. If she makes another mistake, I'm sure she'll end herself or go missing forever. The repercussions of leading a false life. I really want to assist her in turning around. But I just don't see how we will ever be able to get past this and get married joyfully unless God intervenes and works some sort of miracle. Therefore, I'm glad she's receiving assistance. That's all, though. All I can do is simply keep trying to see if anything can be saved. There are a lot of prayers requested. I am a jumble of feelings at the moment. A part of me longs for harmony. Another part of me worries about getting kidnapped. What would bind you, readers who are not very serious? But I ask what my essential beliefs are that keep me true to my marriage vows and the commitment I made. And while I do not take them lightly, wouldn't it release you from yours if she breached the vows? Even my wife acknowledges that I could leave without facing any social backlash. Or, to put it more biblically, I am free to end this marriage. I feel as though my hope that things would improve is all that is holding me back. And for crying out loud, I want to win, not lose. This seems to be a pattern, so what am I doing differently to obtain different results? She's allowed to finish her assignment. When I first started this, I was so terrified of losing everything that I immediately took over and worked tirelessly to make things happen, leaving my wife to essentially lead a life of inebriation. Meaning that even though the acting out had ended, she was merely living with the void of not having her addiction and wasn't truly exploring other opportunities. So life was bland and colorless. She simply had a hole the size of an addiction inside of her. Is physical addiction really so bad? You wouldn't think so. Particularly in this fantasy-rich environment full of lustful nymphomaniacs and stories about how marriages can be strengthened by both the quantity and quality of exploratory bonding. Since intimacy is the ultimate goal, there is no attachment developing, and the addict cannot depend on their partner to give them the high they seek. My wife was unable to manage her feelings and turned to others for psychological support. As a result, she became increasingly resentful of her restrictive marriage, which prevented her from experiencing the freedom to act out bonding. Nevertheless, she reached her lowest point a few days ago, had her eyes opened, and wants to resolve the situation as I have stated. My emotions beg me to leave as soon as possible, but my morals dictate that we should work things out. I can't have a wife who can't handle reality anymore, so the best I can do is be completely honest with her about where I am at, even if it makes her feel a little unstable. Furthermore, she must understand the seriousness of her self-destruction, how it's destroyed the whole thing. She has been crying a lot and pleading with you for forgiveness. However, she is also experiencing a sharp pang of inadequacy and the emotional absence. She has, at minimum, been truthful with me on this as well. Update summary: I'm keeping a close eye on my wife's reasons for her abrupt change of heart. She came to me for explanation, admitted everything, and started the call to the to put an end to it in front of me. He was taken aback. It had also been her who had scheduled the therapy sessions. We will have an infidelity specialist on Monday and another on Wednesday. Like her, I have not concealed my ambivalence. Neither has she concealed her internal battle with withdrawals and the feelings of guilt and inadequacy that appear to feed her need to run away. The line between acting out and sobriety is quite thin, and we are operating on very fragile ground here. I used to act as though I was supposed to perform the work for her, but that is no longer the case. To be honest, I've been incredibly indifferent to her current emotional highs and lows. Whereas in the past, I would usually give in and let her back in without thinking twice. And sure, I'm keeping an eye out for clues that indicate she may have reached rock bottom and is depending on me as a backup plan now that she's realized she should have looked for online acting partners instead of However, her extreme body shame caused her weight to skyrocket, to the point where I stopped being attracted to her, and my resentment only increased. And because I did a terrible job of calling her out on her actions, it came out in extremely passive-aggressive ways. And no, I'm not referring to the typical 20 pounds. I'm not a prude who demands that his spouse resemble a supermodel. I'm speaking in terms of pounds. I was embarrassed to be around her in public at that point. She struggled to reduce her weight. However, her motivation was not to share with me, but to physically act out. Alright, I'm ranting now and getting distracted. I'm still undecided. I'm curious to hear the counselor's opinions. If my wife's sobriety makes us a better match, then that's fantastic. However, I will make the arrangements if I think it would be better for our health if we were apart. Really, all I have to offer is permission to consider the alternatives. Just to be clear, I do love my wife, but not in an unconditional way right now. That my greatest wishes and hopes are for her. That I want her to achieve her goals and that I don't want to put any pressure on her. Regarding passionate love, this is undoubtedly debatable. Today, we talked about how much the past 2 months have been spent entirely in the mindset of parting ways. That this reality is quite difficult to reconcile. She has been sobbing a lot and apologizing a lot lately for how awful, demanding, and abusive she has been toward me. She has been working hard to bring herself to awareness of this. She is working with a counselor to help guide us and see if there is anything that can be salvaged to serve as a foundation to recover the marriage, or if we should simply start again. But she also seems to be taking the same approach of being extremely accepting of where things are at. Though I'm optimistic that she could be making progress in managing her addiction, I'm not sure what this means for my marriage. I had thought, at one point, that she might have a borderline personality problem, especially after seeing Girl. She did appear to suit the most of the behavioral characteristics, and she was interrupted once. She does, however, exhibit PTSD based on her prior IC sessions. Furthermore, I believe that her tremendous survival has led to her undesirable behaviors, problems with attachment disorders. But it could be worthwhile to bring up BPD with the counselor. I thought we scared the living hell out of our new marriage counselor yesterday, most likely going to choose a different one. Even though he was being very polite and avoided the topic, my heart fell when I saw that he had graduated from an evangelical Christian college. Not to pick on evangelicals, but this man gave off the impression of being a really nice, kind man, pleasant man, devoted to his family. I doubt he even understood the context of what we had told him. I was quite upset by his opening act of passiveness, and I had to push the conversation in a different direction to get it going. I essentially informed him that we were divorcing. Wife just had a brief period of uncertainty about her intentions. We must ascertain what is recoverable from there. We asked from a man who specialized in adultery, and we were directed to him by a service. Nevertheless, I believe it completely stunned him when we tag-teamed him and revealed her lifestyle, and he was in dire need of gathering his intelligence. I could only give him credit for being a simple person to talk to. Wife is going through a lot. She has always struggled with the fog mindset and has been extremely open about her overpowering desire to act out. She went to see the guy on her own, the one who helped me manage my anxiety, and it appears like she might go back. We had scheduled a few days of travel starting today, primarily because she requested me to go with her to a conference connected to her profession so she wouldn't act out at the hotel and so we could have some quality alone time to chat. However, she won't be arriving in the long term. She made the decision that attending her addiction group was more important than the conference, and she is certain that it will just make her feel more unsafe and likely to act out. She said she's not quite sure what is preventing her from acting out right now, other than the fact that she seemed to be awake enough to beg for assistance due to the impulse of self-preservation. We have been discussing how the seems to have gotten in over her head, given that she is often the one in charge and manipulates to keep one step ahead of everyone, accomplish her goals, and feel in control. But in this instance, she attempted the same strategy, believing herself to be in charge, only to find that the was always 1 or 2 steps ahead of her and a lot more adept manipulator, and all of a sudden she realized she had lost control. She is currently attempting to avoid the game's high, to realize that everything was unreal. I'm not sure. I just felt that working on the marriage is putting the cart before the horse after speaking with the counselor. My spouse needs to manage her PTSD after gaining some experience in sobriety and stabilizing in it. Then perhaps we might work out marriage problems. All I know is that I suspect she will ever recover from her recurrence if it occurs again. The wife and I both agreed that this guy wasn't cutting mustard, which made it sort of humorous. We both realized that he was uncomfortable with our candor regarding her addiction, especially since it was obvious to us that he was thinking I had gone crazy. I suppose the humor in that could only be understood by being present. However, I nearly chuckled when wife said that she was obsessively masturbating and observed the counselor's response. I believe we will complete and compare the personality questionnaires he offered us to complete. However, I've already called and canceled our remaining appointments because I think it's more important to pay for a counselor who can help the wife manage her PTSD and become sober. If it appears that we still want to work on our marriage, then perhaps we can. I only want what's best. I don't care about the result. I believe that she is making every effort to accept the intense rush that comes with being unfaithful, letting go of the falsehood of it all, not the start of something brand new and extraordinary. In fact, the more she emerged from the mist, the more she realized how many warning signs she had been ignoring. That there was no progress in the relationship. And since she was someone who, I suppose, got away with having seductive power over someone, it was a blow to her pride. That she transitioned from pretending to be in a relationship to genuinely thinking it was. I can see she is missing the intensity because of her withdrawal. She worries that she won't ever feel that for me in a marriage and that she will never get it. However, I am also aware of her stark differences in opinion. I'm going to start working on a series to strengthen my position in a few areas and perhaps close some doors that I am accountable for. We agreed to resume our paleo diet since she now understands the negative effects of sugar, particularly soda, is a major trigger for her addiction-focused thinking, and I am aware of its beneficial effects on me. A month later, your entire brain chemistry has changed, and life has been quite the roller coaster, wife. And I've been trying to sort things out, reading a lot of texts, and seeing a few counselors to help her kick her physical addiction. Our relationship has been great, albeit a little uneventful. My wife barely managed to stay sober for more than 30 days without relapsing. I've been rather proud of her as a result. Her recent choice to file for divorce a few months ago, meanwhile, seems to have started the process towards its eventuality. I've been undecided about this for a while, and as I've been reading more and more about what it takes to overcome a physical addiction, I've been asking my wife what the healthier choice is. Simultaneously, I've been growing increasingly certain that it was my turn to make the call. I'd been praying about it, and after praying one calm morning, I sensed something inside of me. God, I would say, says you know what's to be done. My heart has been so confused that I just asked for more clarity because my heart has been struggling so much with this. In any case, we've been texting each other about his wants and her needs, and we started journaling at the end of each chapter to share our writing. Furthermore, it became quite evident to me after reading one of her writings that she is simply unmarried. She was obviously quite furious when I brought it up, but it wasn't the kind of no, I want to fight kind of upset. We kind of have to work this out. She seemed to be experiencing an instant acceptance of her sadness as I brought this to her attention. She also concurred that our marriage had reached its end, despite her willingness to work on her sobriety and mend our differences. If I had sensed that she was prepared to go above and beyond to make things work, which she wasn't and never really had, I might have changed my mind. And it seemed like the solution I needed to let go at last. I will only be married for a week longer if our initial finalization date stays on track, since anyone who has experienced a marital roller coaster actually experienced bodily suffering during that time. Over the past 3 months, my back has become worse to the point where I am now dependent on cooling, ibuprofen, and spa jets to keep my muscles from spasming. After working out at the gym, the pain continued getting worse, so I went to a chiropractor. I was concerned about a problem with alignment, and although he seemed capable of helping, it didn't. I would say that my back has become worse after going back 2 more times. I'm planning to make a routine medical appointment at the end of the month. After 2 weeks, the woman made a significant change in attitude, became proactive, and chose not to file for divorce. So, yes, we are still married in spite of all the ups and downs and uncertainty. Wife is continuing attending groups and rehab, and she has finally connected with a female sponsor. That's good, then. I mentioned that I've been having back pain in my previous post. I had a back blowout at work last week, and I've been bedridden ever since. I can hardly do anything without my lower right back and flanks cramping and seizing so badly that I had to be taken to urgent care by ambulance. They were only able to give me some powerful medications that had no effect on me at all. We might not discuss it because I've been open about the ongoing issues that preceded my back giving out on me while performing a simple task. God is going to supply. Simultaneously, our level of tension is decreasing, despite my wife being quite afraid about my immobility. However, this is the first day that I haven't needed help getting around. There have been no severe cramps or spasms, only brief pains, but I have taken medication today. I have a lot to be grateful for and a lot of work ahead of me. Despite being in my late 30s, I have never experienced back pain or anything similar before. I attribute a great deal of it, therefore, to the strain in our relationships. My wife seems to be respecting my request to shut up and apologize, which is unusual for us, and I have noticed that I have been speaking my mind more and telling her to stop worrying and being afraid. Wife simply believed that my divorce was incorrect, naturally. My value has never changed. We have been hurting each other a lot, but it seems like we are about to reach a breaking point and file for divorce. In any event, I threatened to cut the connection myself unless we were able to get past the dysfunction and never discuss divorce again. Because it's clear from my body that I am incapable of handling any more harmful patterns. Changes in life, big ones at a time, 1 month later. Significant adjustments. As previously said, I was experiencing what I believed to be back discomfort, and they had not improved since my last letter. I neglected to note that during my visit to the urgent care center, my kidney statistics showed a little rise. They were unable to provide a comprehensive explanation for my back pain, particularly as I was unable to pinpoint a specific injury occurrence. They advised me to follow up with my family physician, who agreed. Was quite perplexed by the symptoms, despite my best attempts to explain them. She was curious to learn more about the high kidney numbers. He instructed me to do a lab in a few weeks and return at that point. That's exactly what I did. However, the next day, I receive a call from my doctor telling me to head straight to the emergency department. My kidneys are not doing well. My wife quickly gets me to the emergency room, where they confirm that my kidneys were failing and that this could be the cause of my excruciating back pain. Based on a gut feeling and the amount of discomfort I've been dealing with for a while, the hospital guy orders numerous bone scans. They saw rib and back fractures, as well as skeletal abnormalities throughout. The skeletal fractures and the failure of my kidneys were signs of the same bone marrow malignancy. I had to spend 10 days in the hospital after it overtaxed my kidneys, weakening my bones and resulting in fractures. Fortunately, my kidneys have already healed. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days ago. Thank God, this means we just need to use chemo to treat the cancer. What a drastic turn of circumstances it has been for our family and our money. Conversely, though, I have only seen positive outcomes from this. In particular, how my wife has been impacted by this, who, only a few months ago, was determined to get a divorce from me and disappear with some other lost human being. I simply can't hold animosity toward anyone anymore. Not after everything that has happened. I cannot deny how my wife has changed, even though I am the one suffering. In your opinion, will the person in question be able to move on from this? Tomorrow morning we'll see the conclusion of part 2. I hope he's alright and lets me get this finished soon.